7:01. Good. Okay, good evening. It is Thursday, May 8th at 7:01, and this is the Affordable Housing Trust Committee. I am Martha Gannon, Vice Chair, and I'm going to give us a call to order. First order, do we have to review and approve the minutes? I believe we're going
They will be ready for our June meeting.
to, okay. Second order of business, to review and sign any bills.
There are no bills this
There are no
evening.
bills. Okay, moving right along. Any board member comments?
I do have one. I wanted to share with those watching that on May 5th, as part of the Affordable Homes Act, folks are now able to petition to seal records related to seal their eviction record, which sometimes can be a barrier for folks to secure housing. So I think that is a great thing, and would love for some information about that to be added perhaps to our page. I think that's probably where it makes the most sense for folks who are watching who may benefit from that opportunity. They can also go to masslegalhelp.org to find out more information about how to petition to seal their records online. But just think that that's great and wanted to elevate that.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay. Okay, moving on to new business. And 11 Elizabeth Street update.
Yeah, I know the trust met with 11 Elizabeth Street prior. I just wanted to note that they have received eligibility and funding approval from CPC. They are targeting a fall town meeting for the majority of those funds. They have, CPC hasn't met and voted on a formal recommendation to town meeting, hasn't gone beyond their application approvals, but they are in that process, and CPC is supportive of this project. I'm also supportive of this as well. I know we were provided from the request from the prior meeting, the breakdown of the specific items that are being requested, and they kind of detail what work is within that scope. So happy to have discussion around that. I do note that the trust in the past has taken a stance to allocate funds more towards actual creation of housing. We did, notably part from that for the prior iteration of this study with where they were at CPC similarly, but the trust was able to fund that project more quickly. So that was the prior 11 Elizabeth Street for, I believe it was $7,000 to do the initial feasibility study. But I just wanted to put that and have some discussion. We can review to fund a portion of it or all of it, or if we want to wait and have some more information on those specific items. But we wanted to keep it on the agenda and have that discussion this evening. So.
Okay. So the budgetary items that they presented us with, there's six of them. So we asked what the top couple were to get them moving, because CPC is in the fall, and then there's certain studies that won't be able to be done over the winter, so this would put them off, at least 9 months to a year. So one of the things they need to do is an existing conditions study and a field test study, the DPOL. The existing condition study is $15,000, and the field test study is about $3,000. The other one would be a traffic study, but they said that could be done over the winter or it's not weather dependent. So I don't know your thoughts about possibly taking a vote to fund them or waiting.
I would like to help them out, get the project rolling.
Okay.
I agree. I thought we had a great conversation with the Housing Authority when they joined us last month.
Last month, yeah.
Was that last month?
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
And I agree with the members here that I think we want to get the project moving and be good partners with them on this. And they did come in with the full presentation of all of the professional services that they will have to pay for in order to, continue moving forward. But I think that to assist with that, because I know that they are seeking CPC funding, that it would be important for us to pitch in a bit and support this. So I would be supportive of paying for both the existing condition survey and the field testing so that they can get that work started over the summer when they're able to, rather than having them wait for the fall and then they'd have to wait for, the conditions to.
Right, because
And then it's dependent on town meeting vote as well. So
That's
you don't
right.
have a guarantee the
correct.
town meeting's actually gonna fund this project.
Or the CPC portion, correct, yep.
So, another good reason, I think we should help them out and at least get the ball rolling on this.
Okay, I agree. And it will take a couple months, we know how things work. Takes a little bit of time, so should we make,
Yeah, and the end goal for this project,
This-
right, and our mission is to create affordable units, and that's what this project is,
Mhm.
and it's wonderful.
Right.
So this is one of the early steps of getting there. So and I know I'm speaking for myself, but I think we're all very excited about this project.
I'm
So,
very excited about this project.
Again, just
It's very tangible.
exactly.
Yeah.
And it feels great that we were able to get our strategic plan finished
Yeah.
last year, and now we're at a point where we're able to, start moving forward and moving towards the creation of those affordable units. So,
Right,
just emphasizing my
yeah.
support.
It helps us meet the goals that were set when Jen came in as the consultant. When she
Exactly.
was, giving us the outline. So
Yeah.
to me, this is the
Mhm.
perfect project for us to.
And I think
partner
too,
up
that
with.
they've already built some units, so they kind of know what's going to happen.
Yes.
And having us as a partner, and for us too, might be a good partnership to start with.
Right.
It's not, all right, should we make a
So-
motion?
So I move that we fund the existing conditions survey for $15,000 and the field testing for $3,000.
Sounds good.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Motion passes.
So Chris, is there anything that we need to do further, or you can let us know?
No, I'll draft a letter to them that, of the trust vote, and notify them that those funds are available to them. And I'll follow up, next month with any response from them, and we'll get the project rolling.
Excellent. Okay, great, thank you. All right, next order of business. CMRPC Housing Coordinator update.
Thank you. I just wanted to provide an update. I believe it was discussed previously that the housing coordinator that we had through CMRPC has taken a position elsewhere, so it's currently vacant. Just as an update to that, we are regularly meeting with CMRPC staff to discuss that vacancy. It remains vacant. There have been a number of applications that have come in, but they're struggling to find qualified candidates that meet their standards, and so it has not yet been filled. They have offered to the communities that have already, essentially paid into that position, using existing CMRPC staff to fill the gap in the meantime. They do have some technical staff already on board that engages in other projects, but they can shift some of the time to fill that gap, and also offering a prorated amount for next year's allocation if there's unused funds. So anything that, or unused hours and funding related to that. So any work that isn't completed this year, if we're, going through hours, we'll get a prorated amount for the next year as a proposal. So I think that's a, fair way of addressing it. We do have a number of work items that overlap and that I think we want to continue to work with their staff on. First and foremost is the overlap with the DLTA funding projects. So we're currently, we're awarded through CMRPC the accessory dwelling unit model bylaw review, and also it's going to review if there's additional, more comprehensive zoning updates that we want to look at in the future related to accessory dwelling units as that process kind of rolls out. And also conducting a build-out analysis. We've conducted a phase 1 with them. They're now doing a deeper dive for us, a phase 2 build-out analysis, really getting into more granular detail related to that. In addition, I think, we've had a lot of good discussions with Habitat for Humanity and the Shrewsbury Housing Authority. Later in the agenda, we'll discuss rental assistance programs and the status of those. So I think there's a lot of items that are kind of coming together at this stage, and I think having that additional technical assistance from CMRPC will be useful. And so I do still see a need to fill those hours, use those hours in support of the ongoing work. But I wanted to provide that update. Unfortunately, they weren't available to attend this evening. And we were informed that their June meeting is one of their kind of annual, meetings for all staff. So they don't have staff available for that one. I'd be happy to have them come back in July, or if we want to shift our June meeting. Obviously, in the meantime, we'll still coordinate with their staff, and it's just whether or not we need them to have an attendance here. And I'm not sure that's necessarily warranted, but.
Okay. So is that calendar year that we pay into that, or is it like June to June?
Fiscal year. So
Fiscal year.
that it usually comes out. They'll calculate it, and we'll get that bill coming up in the next couple of months. But
Okay.
yeah, July's coming quick, so.
I was gonna say, it'll be here. And hopefully they can find somebody to fill the role full-time. Okay. Anything else? Any other questions on that? Okay.
Just for that June meeting, do we want to shift the June meeting or just have them look at July? I don't see an immediate need to have them in attendance, but I just wanted to.
I don't think there is either.
Okay.
I think it's
I think it's,
easier for us to keep our meeting.
yeah.
Agreed.
That's
And
a
then
tournament.
if we need them, they can come in July and.
Agreed. Okay.
Okay, thank you. And then, next, we have the CPC Community Needs Collection. And Chris, I think you passed this out for us.
Yep. So this is the community needs collection process that CPC conducts annually. I think this worksheet was provided via email. But primarily what it does is it looks at the main focus areas of CPC, and they ask it of all of their relevant boards and committees, as well as at a public forum, identification of both the needs and resources related to those topical areas. So really just want to have discussion with the trust if there's needs, specific needs or resources, that we'd like to identify. They do get incorporated into their plan and their annual update of their plan, which will be done in June and July. It's just they're required to collect this information and incorporate that into their annual update. So obviously, I think affordable housing is probably the main topic area that we would look at, but happy to also collect any information related to historic preservation or open space and recreation resources. So.
Okay.
can offer up some softballs to kind of jog some conversation. But I think some of the existing resources that we've identified, from conversations over the last couple of months is, Habitat for Humanity. They've expressed that they're kind of growing in their ability to address regional needs. I think the housing coordinator through CMRPC is a resource, maybe as well as a need given the the challenges of filling that staff.
Yeah, I'm kind of,
I know that, I think, Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, I know they were going to review the needs at the Monday meeting, at the CPC. So I think if,
Yeah.
ideally, would we want it
So
before Monday? No.
yeah, so CPC has been and so CPC is going to collect these on Monday. They've received some comments back from other boards and committees, so they'll be on Monday reviewing those comments and how to incorporate them. We could accept comments a little bit after that because they won't formally update the plan
Okay.
until later in June, but we are kind of getting down to the deadline. So, I mean, no comment. Many of the boards do have no comment, and that's fine as well. But just the opportunity to check in, and obviously it's not a one time, and you can't
Yeah.
express it later in the future. But this is their one kind of big push to have that conversation. So, happy to collect those individually if you want to send them to me, to our office. We'll incorporate them as individual comments as well.
Yep.
So,
I think that's probably better that
that's
way.
probably better, yeah. Yep.
Because I know Hector is also missing from our meeting today.
true,
And-
and we'll want to get his
From our
input.
scheduling conflict, and I think it'd be great to have his.
He's a
his
wealth
im-
of knowledge.
Yes, yeah, his
Incredible.
input, but, I know that our trust has, we've met regularly, I think, with
Mhm.
Habitat for Humanity, know that they're expanding and seeing what they're doing in our neighboring communities, so would love to try to, get them in here.
Agreed.
Yeah, and I like their new, repair projects, and
Mhm.
that is something that's probably less of, having a limited amount of funds in the trust is something that, so doling out all the money, we can help a little bit here and there and help
Mhm.
quite a few people.
Yeah.
Yes.
And with
Okay.
CPC, it's
Right.
it's more recurring, so I
Recurring,
feel like
so-
they're able to sustain something a little bit better than we are, since
Right.
we're.
And that could be something that we could identify as a need. I think that's a really good one of having sustainable funding because, I mean, we've seen it with, again, we'll get to it in some of the rental assistance program, but, with ARPA funding, with, some of the COVID funds that came through, we were able to, a lot of communities were able to do programs that have since, after that funding dries up,
Mhm.
it's hard or challenging to keep those things going. So, finding that sustainable funding source is important, and I think that's a challenge in today's environment to find those.
Okay. Okay, so we can get these to you later, and we can brief Hector and
Absolutely.
what he has to offer as well.
Do we want a date ideally by when we want?
Yeah, I mean, ideally, if I could get them for Monday, but if Monday rolls around and you need more time, happy to
Yeah.
incorporate them after as well.
Okay. Any other comments? Discussion, okay. Next, discussion items, the vacant town-owned parcels inventory update.
Yeah, so I think from the last meeting, I mentioned that we have a new assistant town planner who is well-versed in GIS. And so I think the task was to develop a layer or a heat map which shows vacant parcels that we can develop for affordable housing purposes. And he kind of broke it down for me, and when we met with him to kind of learn the process of how he did that. The first one was identifying and differentiating between town-owned vacant parcels and all vacant parcels in town. And the second step was to look at all town-owned parcels that do not intersect a wetland. And in our, research and kind of going through the process, a large majority of them do intersect and have a large majority of their, acreage intersecting a wetland. And then the final step is to get the final layer. It builds upon the previous two, and it shows all the parcels with an occupancy of vacant but does not touch a wetland or intersect a wetland. And from there, there were about 166 that it came up. This is actually compared to when we started with the list from Mo and from the town manager's office, which were about 400. So a lot more manageable. But within that, there were parcels that owned by the town of Shrewsbury that let the town of Shrewsbury Light, like Selco, and town of Shrewsbury Water Department and Conservation. So kind of taking these couple of days to kind of exclude all of that out of that, and also exclude the open space subdivision conveyances as well. These are leftover spaces created after when a developer creates a subdivision, and usually that space is usually not conducive to housing. So I don't believe it was included in the GIS, so that was something I also had to manually go in and do that. And so when I excluded that, I'm still working, but we have about 70 parcels, and a lot of them are really, really tiny ones that can be merged together. Individually, they're not conducive, or they don't have enough acreage and frontage to support a dwelling, but merging through the A&R process of approval not required, you can merge lots to create enough frontage. So that is, if we're able to do that, I think we can, narrow it down to about 20, I believe, which is a tangible number. And I think from there, we'll kind of work to, because, we use the criteria of, does not intersect a wetland, is not open space, is not too small, as well as, and also I excluded does not abut existing conservation and open space, because some are technically within 100 feet buffer of a wetland resource or open space, but it's probably a very small parcel, and it's abutting that, so it's probably not really conducive to housing. So a lot of factors, we divided them into primary, secondary, so now I think we, over the next couple of weeks, actually look at the 20 that we can develop, and then my idea was to have someone like either CMRPC or MHP. There's a technical assistance grant to actually, once we have identified it, MHP or the Metro Housing Partnership is a housing nonprofit that can help towns, once they've identified parcels, actually see what is, and with the criteria that we develop, actually give an idea of revision of what we can actually develop.
Excellent.
So I think it's going.
So we're getting there.
Yes, we're getting there.
Yes, definitely. Okay, so the next steps would just be to narrow it down more and more and see what we can come up with. Excellent, great, thank you.
Also, I think on that vacant housing, the parcel inventory, I did send an email out a couple of weeks ago about a meeting in Worcester, the MHP Housing Institute, and a major theme of the event is how to develop affordable housing on vacant town-owned land and public land. And I think that's I just printed that out. It's on June 4th and 5th, and a major theme, and it has there's different, breakout sessions throughout the day. But a large focus on it is just learning about the affordable housing process, because it is a very lengthy process as well. So I thought it was a important event, and if the trust members are free, I would encourage them to attend that.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah,
So registration.
there is registration.
Fee.
Yeah, there is. I think one day 2 days you get 175, and then 1 day is 100. So depending, I think only 1 day is the affordable housing on public land, and then the other days are more about ADUs and housing in general. So depending on what you would like to attend, I think you can pick and choose.
Are you going to this?
Housing production on public land feasibility part one.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, great.
So I think this is kind of like the next step, I feel, like, you know, a natural course, especially given in June.
Excellent. Let's see. All right, take a look at that further. All right, next we have the rental assistance program.
Thank you. So I wanted to give a brief update and kind of do a deeper dive onto the rental assistance programs and where that kind of landscape is. I think in some of the previous meetings, I had kind of mentioned that during my time in Grafton, I had worked with them during their rental assistance program. Again, as we discussed earlier, it was related to the COVID, and they used actually 3 funding sources during that program. It was ARPA funding, CPC funding, and Affordable Housing Trust. And they structured it in a way that the ARPA funds were used first, and after those were expended, it would go into the CPC funds. And after CPC was done expending their funds, exhausting their budget, it would then flow into trust for any remaining amounts. Go through their full ARPA budget and went into the CPC budget, but never quite made it to the Affordable Housing Trust funds. But I thought that was an interesting structure. Part of where they left it and started to look at retiring that program was after Raft and Irma were instituted. There was some competing kind of applications there, and they were working to weed out the applicants to make sure that they had gone to Raft and Irma. We did find that people at that time were still falling through the cracks, where they were being denied from the Raft or Irma for whatever reason, and so there was still a need, even with those programs, that rental assistance program was filling for some time as well. So certainly the landscape has changed from that. One of the things that we did is I reached out to MCO Housing, who did a lot of the work. They were the consultant for the Grafton Housing Authority on that project. We've done other work with them, whether it's some of the lotteries, so people may be familiar with that group that does a lot of the kind of housing-related work and consulting. In reaching out to them, they're certainly interested in doing similar work, having done that in the past. They have the experience and would be willing to do something like that. They mentioned that they're not currently engaged with any communities in doing any rental assistance programs at this time. Similar to what happened in Grafton, most communities retired those programs, and they're not currently active. And they weren't aware of any other programs from other communities either, so they're interested also just in information if we dig that up. We also reached out to a number of other firms and had a similar response, that they either were unfamiliar with rental assistance programs or unaware of any existing programs going on. We then, just this afternoon, I was digging a little bit through Westboro's. They had a program as well that was actually funded through Metro West Collaborative Development, and so I was on that website this afternoon. Westboro's actually has been discontinued at this time as well, but Lincoln was, as I was kind of digging through that website and unpacking that program, Lincoln, Massachusetts seems to have an active program, and it is funded through CPC as well. So what I'd like to do is, for next meeting, I'd like to reach out to both Metro West Collaborative Development as well as Lincoln, Massachusetts, to just discuss that program, confirm that it is active, and try to see what kind of volumes they're dealing with, and get a little bit of a better picture of what that framework looks like currently. and then report back to the trust for the June meeting, so.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yep.
And then the consultants discussion update?
I think that kind of,
Kind
yeah, so we
Yeah.
reached out to MCO Housing,
Okay.
and there are a couple other firms, but,
Okay.
yeah, limited feedback.
And then the Affordable Housing Trust and CPC funding agreement update.
Yeah, so I'm happy to report, I think we are 90% complete with that funding agreement. That working group will be meeting on the 23rd, I think it is,
Of me, yes.
of May, where we'll review that draft. I'll also be sending that out to town council for one last peek at it before we meet with the working group. But I'm hoping, as long as that working group goes well and we're able to review that, that we will have formal presentations either in June or certainly I think by July we'll have a formal presentation of that funding agreement for CPC and the trust. Happy to kind of have some discussion around that, but just kind of going through that framework a little bit. So we had the coalition's draft document. We went through and collected a number of active communities that have funding agreements for various programs, and we kind of picked those apart and mashed them together. So I think we're left with something that really fits the Shrewsbury context and how we may want to structure it. But again, 90% there. There's still some of those details and the logistics that'll have to be worked out with the working group. So, but I think we're in very good shape to have
Okay.
some progress on that item.
Moving
so.
forward, right?
Yeah, long. I won't say overdue, but
So-
very much due.
The goal would to put this together and then it would go to town meeting?
Well, so what we
Well,
would do is, yeah, so ideally the time frame I'm looking for will be to get this after the working group is done with it and comfortable. We'll place it before the Affordable Housing Trust in an open meeting. We'll place it before the CPC in an open meeting. There may be some adjustments that those larger groups want to see, and so I just wanted to get us to a point where we have a document where we
There's
can
something.
start to dig into those conversations. So I imagine, couple months of probably some back and forth and trying to get to a fine-tuned document. We may be able to target a May town meeting, but I think given budget cycles, we may want to look at, a fall town meeting. But given budget cycles and how CPC structures their allocations, we may want to wait until next May. But we can certainly get the framework set up and be ready to have that proposal. So one of those details that we'll have to identify once we get this draft approved by the working group will be the list of programs I think that will authorize the trust to engage in. So we generated kind of a short list of what we think from what other communities are doing, but I think that'll be some of the back and forth of what are the programs that we want to do, because that was one of the concerns is we didn't want to we heard from some members that they didn't want to leave it open-ended. They wanted to put some kind of a framework of what those funds, and so we pulled from other communities. Some do one-time projects, and that's it. We've structured it a little bit more of a rolling basis. So, but then that framework of these specific items allow it to be a little bit more defined. So.
Okay, excellent. Excellent, okay. Any comments on that? Any questions?
Just grateful for you and Hector and the CPC members who are also part of that working group.
Yep.
Kathy and Jason, I believe.
Yes.
For getting together and
We're getting there.
talking it out. I
Mhm.
think as I was saying earlier, maintaining our relationship with our partners to help with our shared mission of creating affordable housing is awesome. So, again, this is part of that work, and I know that we're not there yet to prove something,
No,
but we're
but
getting closer, and that feels
Small steps,
that
we're
feels
moving,
good.
we're moving
Yeah.
forward.
Yeah.
I think, which
And that
is-
collaboration is, again, stressing
it's-
it, very
it's-
important. So
it is.
I appreciate the staff as well for the support in that, because
Agreed.
I'm gonna
It's
agree.
been a long time.
Right, we're finally moving. We've been,
Yeah.
you
Yep.
know, getting some motion here, which is good.
That's good.
Any correspondence?
No correspondence.
Okay, that looks like it. Can I get a motion?
Next meeting?
Oh, I'm sorry, next meeting?
Oh, yeah, look at the dates. Next meeting is June 12th, Thursday.
Okay. Have it.
Should be okay. We'll be
You good?
recovering from surgery, so I don't know if I'll be typing.
Okay.
But I can be here.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Can I get a
Motion to adjourn.
A second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.